Welcome back to Gathering Grounds Gaming, and in this video we're going to throw down some stones and we're going to create some static. See you after this. So this is the second half of the ruined cottage tutorial. If you haven't seen the first half, click the link. I think it's going to be up here. Just to watch the first half where we show you how to do all the colour schemes for all the brickwork. But this one today, we're going to show you how to finish off the sandstone, give it a full wash, and then we're going to throw down some base ready stones, going to whip out the static grass applicator, and we're going to finish this thing until it's ready for the table. So I hope you like this video, and I'll catch you at the end.
Okay, so now we've done the rendering. Best thing to do is to leave that to dry now, and then we're going to move on to the sandstone. So I've got Xandri dust already on my brush. Just going to maybe water it a little bit. And the good thing about the rendering, I think we might end up coming back and maybe just doing just a little touch up around. But what we do is we're going to add the Xandri dust along all of these, and then obviously all the stones along the here as well. And again, a little bit like the brown, this is going to look a bit bright, but what we're going to do is we're going to do this, and then we're going to actually use, not going to use any ink wash this time. We're actually going to use some aggro cert shade or some soft tone if you use a wall painter instead. And I'm going to do all these stones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now go around, pick out all these stones on the model, and I will come back when I'm done. I would probably say leave the windows because they look quite good in the grey, but we'll have a look. Okay, so we've now done all of the sandstone. I've actually decided to do it around the windows and around the doors. I think it actually just gives a nice contrast in the colour. So we are up to that point now, and as you can see, the spread of colour is really nice actually. It's a nice contrast between the sandstone and the grey. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to wash all of the sandstone we've just painted, just because it's obviously far too bright at the moment. And what I might do actually first is I might actually quickly do the terracotta on the chimney, because that's also going to be washed in the same colour. So let me do that, and let me get the wash on, and then I can show you what we're going to do. So basically for the wash, we're going to probably use soft tone. It's a wall painter by Army Painter. So unfortunately I accidentally deleted the footage of the dry brushing step, so just going to talk you through it. So basically I did the soft tone like I said I would all over the sandstone areas, and then what I did is I let it dry to get all the sort of brown recesses, so you can see a lot of the brown recesses just sort of here. And then I came back in with some Xandri dust, which is what I painted originally, with a little bit of white acrylic, and I basically just did a very light dry brush to sort of like catch the edges. So you can see here like a lot of the light edges just on the stonework. And then what that does, it just sort of brings the the sandstone colour back up, and just sort of makes it pop out again. So you can see that we're getting really nicely with the colour now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get on with and do the wood. So there's two options when you do the wood. What you can do is you can literally paint all of the wood like a grey sear, and then you can do like a contrast paint over the top, which is a good way of doing it. Or while it's black, you can do like a dark grey, and then you can do a couple of like different lighter greys dry brushed over the top. But what I think I'm going to do today, just to show you how to do it, I think I'm going to go for the grey sear, and then I think I'm going to contrast medium down some contrast wildwood. So I'll show you how that looks, and but I'm going to do it with the dark browns on the 3D printed piece that I've currently got drying, so I can show you both steps. And just a little point to note, in the little piles of rubble you've also got bits of wood, so make sure you don't miss those, because they do look really good once they're done. So as I say, I'm going to do that and then I'm going to come back. Okay, so I've now painted all the grey cere and all the places I want wood, and obviously, like I said, I picked out the pieces of wood in the little rubble piles. So now what I'm going to do is I've got wild wood. So wild wood I know is probably a little bit dark on straight out of the tub, so I'm going to actually mix it. I'm going to mix it with some contrast medium, so that will just sort of like lighten it up slightly, and I'm going to basically then just cover all of the areas. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to start off with the platform, and what this will do, as you can see, it will sink into all of the recesses, and it will give you the brown tone, but it will then sink, so it will actually, all the recesses will be darker, which is what you'd expect. It just means you don't have to then come through and shade. And actually looking at it, I may have put a little bit too much medium in, so it's probably just a bit showing the grey too much. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to just add a bit more wildwood. I'm going to do that again. So if I give that another go. It's a lot better. So yeah, basically just go over all the wood. And there's two things, you can go give it a second coat if you want it darker, or you can also just like any wash, you could just run it off of the areas that you think actually I don't want it to be there. So it does go off quite nice, but I do like wildwood. It's because sometimes when you do dry brushing on wood, you can lose the actual grain of the wood through the dry brushing. So the actual contrast paints are actually really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do the rest, and I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like after. So so we've now done the floors and done the roof. So what I've also done is I also just got a little bit of a light brown and dry brushed it very gently, just to make the edges of this pop a bit more. And I found the actual wood was a little bit too dark once I'd actually got it all done. So I literally just popped around there just to pop out the edges. So you can just, so now obviously all the dark brown sits in the grain and it looks a little bit more like timber. So I've done all that. So now that's the general sort of paint scheme finished, as you can see. So now what we need to do is I think what I'm going to do is we're going to do a path just amongst these all the big stones. I'm going to probably dry brush these a little bit more just to make them pop out a bit more. And I think I'm going to get I think there is a base ready called Forest Path, which is like stones, but it's got little bits of turf in it through here and probably through here. And then I'm going to drop in, I'm going to show you how to do static grass. And then I've got some like little turfs, which have got little flowers growing in, just to add in at the end. And then I'll show you when it's done. But so what we'll do first is we will do I might do the static grass first, and I can do the path. The big thing I want to talk about now, though, for this build is static grass. So I use static grass. I'll be using it in this build, and I use it for a lot of my builds. So basically how it works is that this is a really good applicator. This is from World War Scenics. They're based in Wales. They're actually a really good company, and they do all like the static grass to go with it. So basically how it works is there's a battery in here, and you have a pot where you put your static grass. So this static grass goes in here. You put the lid on, and then when you turn it on, there is a charge that goes through here and here. So basically what happens is you touch this to the piece, and then when you shake the static grass through it, the static grass basically hits the piece, but it stands up. So basically the electrical pulsing makes it stand up, so it looks like grass. Now the things about using this is you wouldn't want to do a whole gaming board in this, because obviously if you're putting miniatures down, they're not going to stand very well on when you get long grass. But for the type of piece that I'm doing, because it's going to be in little small patches, the pieces will stand up perfectly fine. So and this is really realistic. They tend to use this for train dioramas, or just like World War dioramas, any diorama where there's not going to be lots of pieces like standing around. A lot of things are going to be glued in, but a lot of people do use it for gaming boards, gaming pieces, bases. So people still tend to use it for that. So, and it's a really good thing. This cost me about £50. It's a really good investment. I tend to use 2mm. I've got the same color. I'll be doing 2mm then 4mm on this piece, with a little bit of dead grass over the top. That on one piece, and then I'll be using the 4mm moss grass on the other piece. So I want to create two different looks. So I'll show you through the techniques, but that bag static grass, if you get it from the right place, unfortunately Serious Play aren't around anymore, but you can get them for probably about £2.50 a bag. And they're good sized bags. I mean, this bag will last me a long time unless I'm doing a big diorama. So there's lots of bits there, and I'll be finishing off my pieces with static grass tufts. So they sell them lots of different styles. So they tend to do sheets of mixed colors. This is like medium size. This is a diorama element. So as I say, it's got lots of different things, and you just literally peel them off, stick them on, and it's done. And you've even got bushes. So I'll be putting a couple of bushes on this one as well. And if you want to go really mad, they also sell hedges. All stick down, you can just stick them straight into your diorama. They are amazing little finishing touches to put on any diorama. Let's jump into the build now, and I can show you some of these techniques. Okay, so now we're on to static grass. So if you don't have a static grass applicator, it doesn't matter. You can use flocks, you can use fine turf. I like using static grass on these just because I like the realism of like the way the grass sits, but also it gives it a bit of interest. So you can still put some stones and some sort of low profile sort of textures on here as well. But I just quite like the interest that it creates when you do these static grass. So what I'm going to start off with is some 2mm, and this is like summer grass, and then I'm going to do the same but in 4mm, and then I'm going to go in afterwards and do a bit of dead grass, which is also 4mm, and the dead grass will go into some more areas where maybe they won't get as much light and the grass has sort of died. But I'll show you as I go. So I'm going to start off with the 2mm. So what you want to do is to get the piece, if you've got a static grass, you've probably done this before, get it above a piece of paper, because obviously the static grass can then, when you tack it off, you can then gather the grass back up. You want to switch your static grass applicator back on, you want to place it down, and literally just go straight over the piece. Don't worry if the grass goes everywhere, it will obviously only stick in the places where you've got the glue. That's why you need to do it on a piece of paper. Let's get it on all the different places. I'll show you what it's like after. Okay, so that's after the 2mm. So as you can see, it's created some sort of nice patches. I think due to the size of the piece, I think the 2mm is actually this is actually quite bright. It's brighter probably than I wanted. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go straight to the 4mm, this 4mm sort of dead grass, which is a bit darker. I might even go to the more mossy, which is again a bit darker, and it should blend hopefully and just dull down the 2mm grass that I've already got on there a bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that, and I'm going to come back and show you what the difference is. Okay, so this is how it looks after I've put the static grass on. So a couple of little patches I think I'm just going to go over. But actually thinking about the rest of what we're going to put on, so we're going to put some base reddies all the way through the middle. I think I'm going to just sort of dab some PVA in between the bigger stones and that, and then sprinkle it straight across, and that should obviously give us the variation. I'm really happy with that at the minute. As I say, we just need to do the other bits. What I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to quickly go and do the static grass to the 3D printed piece and then I will come back and show what it all looks like. Okay, so now now the static grass is all done. It's time to put some base readies on. So as you can see, I've put some PVA in amongst all the stones, because I still quite like to keep the stones visible, the larger ones. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, as you can see, I'm going to add. So I've got so 3 different types. So I've got forest path, which is small grit, dust, and little bits of flock. Then I've got arid earth, which is more sort of just stones. And then I've got some sort of chip slate, which will just add a little bit of extra texture just around the piece. So as I say, I've got it all in PVA. So what I'm going to use, I'm going to use the forest path to actually do, just so you can see it, to actually just do the path. So I'm just going to add it all in, just across the piece. To just define where the path will be, and don't matter if it goes in the static grass, because it just adds a bit more texture. And don't matter if you don't need to fill it all, because what we'll do is we'll add in some of the other the arid earth. But what we'll do now is we'll add in some of the arid earth just to fill out the piece. Now what we're going to do is the chip slate is really going to be there just to tie some of the grey stones that are already there into what we've just sprinkled on. So you just want to just do a couple just here and there, just to tie the colours in, because otherwise it all just looks creates a nice piece. I'm just going to lift this off. So you can see, creates a nice contrast there. And then what we do now is we're going to get some, in this bottle here, we've got some isopropanol, which basically breaks up the surface tension of what we just stuck down. And then we do basically water down the PVA. We just soak the whole piece, and that should then lock it all in, and then we can add the finer details on afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away and do that, and I will show you what it all looks like after. All I'm going to do to this now is I'm going to add just a few more stick-on static grass turfs, just to give it a little bit more variation. And I've got some with flowers on, so I'm just going to dot a couple of those around, so it looks like the sort of flowers sort of grown up here and there.
I hope you enjoyed that video. I must admit, I really enjoyed painting these models. I love the static grass techniques. I absolutely love those when you see them on the table, and I really enjoyed experimenting with the different sort of techniques for the render. As I say, if you like the content you're seeing here today, as I say, please ring the bell, like and subscribe, and if you can, I'd love it if you can head across to my my Patreon, and so you can become a free member. We can get some sort of general updates and a few free videos, or you can become a member, start at £3 a month. And if you head across to Patreon now, you get to choose one of 5 projects that some I've started already and some I'm going to start from scratch. And these things from hex tiles, there's some really good MDF tutorials in there, so you get to vote for which one you want to see on the channel next. So as I say, head over there. You get to do it as a free member as well, so grab your say, and I say I'll look forward to seeing what the results are, and I'll be announcing that in a week's time. But, okay, as I say, if you like these videos, watch out for the next ones. So we've got some lava bases coming very soon. I show you how to build and then the paint techniques for lava bases, and then I've got some scatter tree tutorials coming up very soon after that. But as I say, if you like this video, watch out for the next one, and until then, I look forward to seeing you.